Welcome to a different tablet. Because my phone is charging. Hello! To answer the first thing I need to address, your bias against people with information, depending on how they present the information, is gonna make you learn the wrong thing, possibly. Unless you're smart enough to figure out for yourself, in which case, yeah, why are you even asking the question? Why are you even looking it up? You know the answer. No, you came here because you needed an answer. I came here because I fucking have one for you. But also, I'm not talking about you, Veritasium, yet! Wait your turn! Talking about this bitch.
I'm more likely to trust somebody who isn't sure if they're right and is willing to admit it, rather than somebody who insists that they're absolutely right and they won't listen to anyone else, right?
Okay, listen, it's not that I wouldn't listen to anything else. It's that there is a right and there is a wrong in this universe. For a lot of questions. Maybe not every question, but a lot of them. There are exact black and white answers. There is a yes or no. There is a thing that you can say that is correct, and there is a thing that you can say that is incorrect. For example, I have 2 eyes. That is correct. I have 3 eyes. That is incorrect. You can't say I'm lying about either of those statements. Because I said the 3 eyes thing is incorrect. That is a complete... I don't care what you think! I only have 2 eyes, physically. And physically that is correct. However, my perception is a 3rd eye, and that's a separate, an enigma, and whatever else. I don't care what you think. Physically, I have 2 eyes. Unless there's one inside of my head that wasn't outside and it's technically blind anyway, so it doesn't even know it's there. Which is a weird abnormality my doctor hasn't told me about. But anyhow, a strange medical condition I don't have! The point is, if there is information that is in the world, it doesn't matter who says it or how they say it. It matters if it's true.
Maybe the second person is right, but if you're so obstinate and obnoxious, why would I want to believe you, right? Whereas the first person...
You know what happens when you only listen to people who say it in a certain way? You're gullible. People could say it in that way, be completely wrong, and you'll listen to them and understand absolutely nothing about what you heard, and you'll just accept it as truth. For example, electrons are waves. It's a fucking lie! Electrons are never waves. Electrons. Electrons are never waves. They are particles. They will always be particles. They have always been particles. They behave like a wave. No. They are interfered by the electromagnetic field, which is a separate substance that the electromagnetic electrons are interacting with. It's like the area around a magnet. That area of influence moves away from the magnet and it extends outward. An electron is just a tiny magnet. So you understand that the double slit experiment is done by a lot of idiots said incorrectly with confidence in a way that you would believe! But you'd be stupid if you believe them, because that's not how it actually works. I don't care about your sensibilities. I don't care what you think about what you want for the person to say and how you want them to say it. I don't care if I am so obnoxious you don't want to listen. Fuck you. You're stupid. Your bias is going to make you listen to the wrong people who have the wrong information. And you won't learn anything. So sometimes you got to hear it from someone like me, who will spit in your face if you don't understand what the fuck I just said. Electrons are tiny bar magnets. They have an electromagnetic aura around them. When you shoot the electron through the atmosphere, there's more electromagnetic field out there. It's moving the field as it goes. That field goes through the double slit first, makes the interference pattern, and then the electron itself, the little dot, the tiny bar magnet, the size of 1,000th the size of an atom, goes through the slit, is funneled by the interference pattern waves, which are basically the electromagnetic field is pushing on either side. It can only go in one of these different interference pattern wave segments because it's being pushed on all sides. That's obvious. And that's why you end up with the interference pattern wave thing that you end up with in the result. The electromagnetism is the water. The electron is the poo stick. So if you don't understand that, I don't care. Because I've said it enough times, I'm pissed off, and we're not even talking about that today.
It looks like like they have an air of believability around that.
That's called, yeah. Anyone can be a swindler. Anyone can say a good line. Anyone can make a statement based off a goddamn script, and it doesn't make them right. So if you're gullible, I'm sorry for you.
Makes sense. If somebody came up, if two separate people were trying to convince me that the world was flat, and the first person went, well, I read this, and this that says the world is flat, and I believe it, I'm not entirely sure, but it makes a lot of sense to me, you know? I mean, here's this.
Also, I don't care about what there are so many people, they have had the chance to represent themselves in a positive or a weird statement, and they don't always say it in ways that are bombastic and whatever else. The world is not flat, by the way. But forget about that. The way it's presented doesn't fucking matter. There are ways to substantiate the claims made by people so that you can understand what they say is actually true.
I mean, I'm all up for talking about this. The second person goes, no, the world is flat. It has to be flat. Everyone else is lying. This is the thing, this is the thing, this is the thing.
Actually, it's the people who believe that the world is round who are saying, no, it's round. It has to be round. All the other fucking planets are round. Why would this one be flat? You're stupid. Seriously, why would you ever think the world is flat? That's because you're stupid. Now you gotta believe the world is round? Or flat? It's fucking round, bitch. I don't care how you take in information, it's fucking round. Get over it. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about this motherfucker. And this question that was poorly presented, and also, when the fuck does she wake up? We don't know. There are two chances. She either wakes up or she doesn't. Guess what? Either way, it's half. You're trying to present it as a third. You're stupid. The entire community is stupid. If you don't have a consensus for this, you're stupid. Fuck you. It's half. There's only one fucking coin flip. There's only one scenario. You either wake up or you don't. Because if you get asked a question on Tuesday, you're still going to be put back to fucking sleep. Let's watch the video.
What's up? It's Brett Dasovic for
Fuck
the
off.
best show in pop culture.
this was...
Shut up.
Do not hit the like button or the dislike button. At least, not yet. I want
Don't hit those buttons at all because the question is badly phrased!
you to consider a problem that's been one of the most controversial in math and philosophy over the
Why?
past 50 years. There is no consensus answer.
Why?
I want you to listen to the problem and then vote for the answer you prefer using the like and dislike buttons.
No!
Here is the setup. Sleeping Beauty volunteers to be the subject of an experiment. And before it starts, she's informed of the procedure. On Sunday night, she will be put to sleep. And then, a fair coin will be flipped. If that coin comes up heads, she'll be awakened on Monday and then put back to sleep.
One
If the
scenario.
coin comes up tails, she will also be awakened on Monday and put back to sleep. But then she'll be awakened on Tuesday as well and then put back to sleep.
Remember, she doesn't remember that she woke up on Monday.
Now, each time she gets put back to sleep, she will forget that she was ever awakened.
Because I've watched this before. So she only remembers that she woke up on Tuesday, but she's going to be put back to sleep again, so she's going to have to wake up again. At some point, it's not going to be fucking Tuesday. So, when she actually wakes up, when the fuck is it? We don't know! We have no goddamn idea when the fuck that happens. So the question is, 1, incomplete, 2, half. Because if she woke up on Monday, she woke up at all, and then she finally is able to say it was half. The other coin flip involves her going back to sleep. When does she fucking wake up? We don't know. It's not expressed in the question, therefore she doesn't wake up. Or she wakes up on Wednesday. Let's pretend she wakes up on Wednesday. And she doesn't know when she woke up. She clearly doesn't know because she has amnesia every time she goes through this process. So if she only is aware of being waken up at... Why do you go just cut out the part where she goes to sleep on Tuesday, because that's conflating everything into a stupid question no one asked. But if we know when we assume she wakes up at some point, if she woke up at all, right? There are 2 scenarios really. She wakes up or she doesn't wake up. That's what that accounts to. And therefore, it can only be half. And fair coin, I woke up. First of all, if fair coin, I either wake up or I don't on Monday or at all, I'm not taking that fucking procedure because fuck you, I want to wake up tomorrow. Thanks. Have an end point. I wake up on Wednesday. Okay, then I'm done. I get to walk home. Thank you. Fuck off. With your smiling face. I need to get rid of that face. It's too happy.
In the brief period, anytime she's awake, she will be told no information. But she'll be asked one question.
In the brief time she's awake, she'll have been asked the question. There are only 2 scenarios. So ironically, she's awake on Monday and Tuesday. She'll be asked whether the coin flip was fair. You're either going to be waking up on... Okay, so you're asked this question on you woke up on Monday or you woke up on Tuesday. Or you woke up on Monday and the coin flip was tails, so you're going to wake up again. So, because you're put back... Because Monday... Wait, are you put back to sleep on Monday as well? I need to read it again. Fuck off.
On Sunday night, she will be put to sleep. And then, a fair coin will be flipped.
Uh-huh.
If that coin comes up heads, she'll be awakened on Monday and then put back to sleep. If the
So the Monday and Tuesday scenarios are equal. Okay.
coin comes up tails, she will also be awakened on Monday and put back to sleep, but then she'll be awakened on Tuesday as well and then put back to sleep. Now, each time she gets put back to sleep,
So either way, there's a 50-50 chance of her waking up on Monday and Tuesday. And the difference is the 50-50 coin is two ways of representing the same result. So there are two different scenarios. You either woke up on Monday with it being heads, or Monday with it being tails. So it's a 50-50. Or you woke up on Monday being heads and Tuesday being tails. Another 50-50. There is no other coin flip. It's still 50-50. The scenarios aren't separate from each other.
She will forget that she was ever awakened. In the brief period, anytime she's awake, she will be told no information. But she'll be asked one question. What do you believe is the probability that the coin came up heads? So,
in a fair coin, what is the probability the coin flip came up heads? It's fucking 50-50. But it's not, because if you actually do a proper coin flip, it's probably like 49% or 48%. It's not 50%, depending on how many coin flips you do, or something. The number of coin flips matter. If it's an odd number, then you have a different answer. If it's an even number, you have a different answer.
how should she answer? Feel free to pause the video and answer the question for yourself
There is one coin flip, so it's 50-50. Shut up.
right now.
The answer is 50-50.
This was my reaction after hearing the problem for the first time. I mean, the intuitive answer that pops in my
The intuitive answer, meaning the correct answer.
head, is clearly 1 and 3. It could be the Monday.
No, actually, that's not the. Why would that be the intuitive answer? There are 3 scenarios. Who cares? The coin flip has nothing to do with the scenarios. They are separate.
Came up heads, or it could be the Monday when it came up tails, or it could be the Tuesday when it came up tails.
But you know what's really interesting is you just answered that the probability of a coin coming up heads is 1/3.
I think a lot of this comes down to what specific question is asked of her. What is the probability that a fair coin flipped
I'll
gives
just listen
heads?
to the rest and tell you later.
6%. What is the probability that the coin came up heads? I would say the answer is 1/3 from her perspective.
It's a really dumbly worded fucking question, you stupid bitch.
remarkably the same question.
No, it's
The
not.
simple reason why Sleeping Beauty should say the probability of heads is 1/2 is because she knows the coin is fair. Nothing changes between when the coin is flipped and when she wakes up, and she knew for a fact that she would be woken up, and she receives no new information when that happens.
The possibility of her waking up on Monday or Tuesday is 1/2. The possibility of her waking up, the 2 scenarios, is 1/2. There are no other coin flips, and if it was 2 coin flips, it'd be different. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 1, so it's 1/2. We didn't talk about her scenarios. What are the chances that it's Monday is 1/3? Because there are 3 scenarios. That's not what we fucking asked! We asked about the coin flip. We don't care about whether it's Monday or not. That's why you're stupid.
Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket is an app for mobile devices developed
Information when that happens. Imagine that instead of flipping the coin after she's asleep, the experimenters flip the coin first and ask her immediately, what's the probability that the coin came up heads? Well, she would certainly say 1/2. So why should anything change?
Because you're thinking about the question as, what is the probability that you woke up on Monday? That's not the question!
After she goes to sleep and wakes up. This is known as the halfer position. But there is...
The thing about... The reason why you would separate the ideas of the consequence and the actual probability of the coin flip is because, 1, they are separate from each other. It doesn't matter how many different scenarios you add to it. the probability of her waking up on Monday versus Tuesday, it could also mean she could have woken up on Monday and Wednesday if it was heads. We don't know. It's another idea, and it means a completely different thing. So does that change everything about the heads and tails coin flip? No. It's just two scenarios represented as maybe now 4 different possibilities. Infinite possibilities. Who gives a shit? The coin flip was only one. It's half.
Another way to
The other way that the coin flip could happen is if it lands on its fucking side. And we're not counting that!
look at it. Others would argue that some
And then it has infinite sides that it could have landed on. So, depending on how many sides the coin has, you know, some of them have like a definite, like the dollar has a certain number of sides. The toonie has like these bumps that equal a certain number of sides. So that's the number of possible sides that the sides around the edges of a coin are not equal to 0, as in a circle. They have bumps, so they can be placed on their top and they won't roll. They're not a perfect circle. Look at it yourself. It's an odd number. Shut up.
something does change when she's awakened. I mean, it seems like she gets no new information. There are no calendars, no one tells her anything, and she knew that she would be woken up, but she
And she doesn't know whether she woke up on Monday or Tuesday. And if she woke up on Tuesday, she doesn't remember that she woke up on Monday.
actually learns something important. She learns that she's gone from existing in a reality where there are 2 possible states, the coin came up either heads or tails, to existing in a reality where there are 3 possible states, Monday heads, Monday tails, or Tuesday tails.
No, because those free states have nothing to do with the coin flip. Focus on the coin flip question. If you're talking about the chances of her waking up on Monday, actually, is she asked the question on Monday and Tuesday? Then she could have equally been asked, is it Monday or is it Tuesday? And she wouldn't know. But it's still equally, there are 2 scenarios. It's still 2.
Tails. And therefore, she should assign equal probability to each of these 3 outcomes where heads only occurred in
That's an
one.
illusion.
So the probability that the coin came up heads is 1/3. This is known as the thirder position.
It's a dumb
Now, I know it
position.
seems wrong to suggest that a fair coin should have a 1/3 probability of coming up heads, but that's because the question she's asked is subtly different. The implied question is, given you're awake, what's the probability that the coin came up heads? And that is 1/3.
It's still not. Given that you're awake, the coin being either heads or tails is true Monday and Tuesday. So it's just Tuesday. Technically on Monday, she didn't wake up the second time. So, because you went to sleep, apparently you never wake up again? What? And on Tuesday, you went to sleep, you never wake up again. What? Make a complete statement, please, would you?
Now, halfers would counter that just because there are 3 possible outcomes doesn't mean they are each equally likely. In the Monte Hall problem, for example, the contestant ultimately has to choose between 2 doors. But it would be wrong to assign them 50-50 odds. The prize is actually twice as likely to be behind one door than the other. In the Sleeping Beauty problem, we know a heads outcome and a tails outcome are equally likely.
Doors are not the same as Monday, Tuesday, and Monday.
So the chance of waking up on Monday with heads is 50%, and the chance of waking up on Monday or Tuesday with tails should be 50%.
This situation is, there are 2 doors, there are not 3.
Therefore, the tails probability gets split across 2 days, 25% each.
No.
But if you repeat the experiment over and over, which you can try for yourself by repeatedly flipping a coin, you find she wakes up 1/3 of the time Monday heads, 1/3 of the time Monday tails, and 1/3 of the time Tuesday tails.
That doesn't-
Not 50-25-25.
The results of coin flips that are fair are irrelevant to the days when you wake up. Again, if you assign it as we will wake you up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and then you're done, you can just go back home. Any number of parameters will wake you up 15,000 times between now and tomorrow. You won't know. And it's all based on a single coin flip, meaning it half. When you woke up, that's random. And who gives a shit? That's different. It's separate. It's a separate question. It's an entirely separate scenario. It has nothing to do with the coin flip.
Like the previous analysis would suggest. So if you were Sleeping Beauty and you were awakened and asked, what's the probability the coin came up heads, what would you say?
Half.
If you would say 1/3, then hit the like button. If you would say 1/2, hit the dislike button. The answer may seem obvious to you, but you should know that to other people, the other answer seems equally obvious. And that's
You forgot about the time when literally it's Tuesday. We haven't woken her up again. When does she wake up again? You woke up. It's either heads or tails on Monday. It's definitely tails on Tuesday. So if I woke up on Tuesday, whatever, heads got me to the other scenario, tails got me here.
Hundreds and hundreds of philosophy papers have been published on this problem over the past 22 years. There have been many variations of this problem, like, what if instead of being woken up twice if the coin lands tails, she's instead woken up 1,000,000 times?
Did I remember this episode from last year? Maybe I did.
If the coin comes up heads,
I haven't revisited this video in this channel. The other channel's gone, so I have to make a response. This is my candid, as if I, for the first time, responding to this. For everyone concerned, here's my response.
Still woken only once.
Finally.
Doesn't it seem absurd in this case, when Sleeping Beauty wakes up, to say that it was just as likely that the coin landed heads as tails, when we know there are 1,000,000 more wake-ups in the tails case than in the heads case? I mean, if you...
Yeah, like, seriously, it doesn't matter how many times you wake up. Heads or tails, one of them got you there.
Reach into a bag of one white marble and 1,000,000 black marbles, what are the chances that you pull out that one white marble?
We weren't asking that question.
I was pretty convinced by this, and I considered myself a thirder.
First of all, nothing about heads or tails controls when you ask the question. You could ask the question on Monday or Tuesday. You are asked the question every one of those days scenarios in the 1,000,000 scenario. It doesn't matter.
But this same argument is used to convince people that we're living in a simulation. The thinking goes that our computing technology has improved so dramatically, even over just the last 40 years, that we can imagine a time in the not too distant future when we can create a completely...
We just went to complete loop. What do you mean? Okay, we just went from two different scenarios, and you're misrepresenting the question, to now you're talking about a simulated reality where I'm an NPC.
realistic...
In which case, this video is brought to you by the bitch who made me. Hi, God. Nice knowing you.
simulation of our world. And once that occurs, it should be trivial to make unlimited copies of that simulation. And then if you were to ask someone if they're living in a simulation, they would have to admit that they probably are, because there are many more instances of that existence than the one true external.
why would you be aware of the other simulations? Not to mention, apparently Planck's length, the Planck, idealizing things going down to the Planck length doesn't allow you to change all the different parameters of, like, if I literally have, let's say, a very long, very straight ruler or laser, right? And I have one of those gearboxes that goes by one every quadrillion, whatever. After 1 meter, the tip of that laser is going to move a Planck length a certain amount of time. After a certain amount of time, it will move less than that in less time. So that's fascinating.
Reality. But how do we know that this hasn't happened already and that we're living inside a simulation? I mean, if it can happen, then it probably...
And also, it doesn't matter if we're living in a simulation. Everything that we know and exist in, and in order to be in a simulation, chances are a lot more even if you could correct for glitches, like, there's gonna be something out there that's just, maybe rockets a person to the moon or something. Have they patched that out in Skyrim? I don't know.
Has happened, and we are living in a simulation. This seems like the logical conclusion of the third
They haven't patched it out in GTA 5 either.
worldview. Now, I personally don't buy that I'm living in a simulation, and I think most people don't buy it, but maybe that's just a logical bias. But there's another...
The thing is, recently they mapped a brain of a fly, which is like, okay, what's the point of that? Well, you can learn a lot about how all these different parts of the brain work, and then using that same type of logic, just using a larger amount of information storage, you can have a completed simulation of a person's brain and then put it through the rigor, and you'll find it makes choices, which is like fascinating and stuff. Like, depending on what a person eats or what they're doing, all these different inputs and whatever, it does stuff. And that's fascinating that it actually is similar. But a fly's brain is very predictable. It's very mechanical. It's very simplistic. It's not, even if it has social stuff and a long list of other things that it could assign to things, it's not that it has the full function of consciousness. Even if it has like a basic consciousness, it's a lot more simplified. A human's brain might be a little bit more uncontrollable. And if it is controllable, or if it is deterministic, well, if it is deterministic, it is controllable, meaning you made me make this reaction video. Every one of you. You caused me to be the way that I am. Because this other person who made their reaction video caused the first part of my video, along with everything else that fed into my brain leading up to the result of, hey, you want to not be gullible? Listen to people and then make sure that they're correct, and then you will know. Seriously, it's 50-50. It's not 1/3. It's never 1/3. You're misunderstanding the question. We never asked whether or not it's Monday. We asked the coin flip. And only the coin flip. So shut up. Who the fuck allowed you to have this thirders idea? Is just some crackpot. I'm sorry. They're on drugs. Go away. It's a half. Shut up. It's fine to have all these other questions in your head. Don't confuse it. God damn you.
Thought experiment that makes me seriously reconsider the thirder position. Let's say there's a soccer game between a really great team like Brazil and a less world-dominating team like Canada. So the odds are 80-20 in Brazil's favor. Now, a researcher is going to put you to sleep before the game starts. And if Brazil wins, they'll wake you up 1 time. But if Canada wins, they'll wake you up 30 times in a row. And just like Sleeping Beauty, you won't remember if you've been woken before. Okay, so the game is about...
Again, it's a 50-50 chance that they're going to win or lose. The probability of it happening, however, isn't based on the 50-50% of win-lose. It's based on the ideas of the parameters of what would make them to win or what would make them to lose. So when you have the scenario of...
to start, you fall asleep.
Commercial, fuck off.
Before. Okay, so the game is about to start. You fall asleep, and now you're woken up. Who do you think won the game? The thirder would say Canada, but I would almost certainly say Brazil. I mean, why should I give in?
Listen, the probability of waking up and them winning, okay, is a different question than the coin flip. Whether the chances of them winning, it's 50-50. What are the actual probability of them winning is the 80-20 or 5-1 odds. And if it's 5-1 odds, I'll take that. I'll be like, hell, it's fucking Canada, dude. So I win big. That's the optimistic side.
Wait to what the researcher would have done if Canada had won, when I'm fairly confident that they won't. To extend this, let's say Brazil plays Canada 5 times, and we do this experiment each time. Well, then if you say Brazil each time you're woken up, you'll probably be right about 4 out of 5 of the games. But if you said Canada every time, you would be wrong about those 4 games, but right 30 times in a row when you're repeatedly asked about Canada's...
Yeah, it's a totally different... Again, the results of event are separate from the event itself. The 1 in 5 chance is separate from the times you're woken up. Different scenarios. You have to separate them from each other. They are not correlated. Like the cat being awake, alive, or dead, the truth is that cat's always dead in the box. There is no other way about it because the freaking particle is likely to decay. So it's most likely it decayed. So the cat is dead.
One victory. If you stand to win a bet by correctly
I might be
answering
wrong
the
about
question,
that.
then by all means, you should bet on Canada. But if you want to correctly pick the winner of more of the games, well, then you should say Brazil. And this is what's at the heart of the dispute between halfers and thirders in the Sleeping Beauty problem. If you want to be right about the outcome of the coin tosses, well, you should say the probability of heads is a half.
Yeah.
If you want to answer more questionings correctly, well, then you should say 1/3.
Yeah, but again, no. It's still 2 results. One of them includes a bunch of steps. Who gives a shit? And the other one is very simple, but it's still only 2 results. You need to separate the information of Monday, Tuesday from half coin flips, because both of them equal. It doesn't matter. It's still half because we're asking about the coin flip. If you want to ask both questions, who cares? If you want to say how often did she answer the question right, we don't give a shit because it's random. You're conflating it. You're misunderstanding. It's a very more simple question. It's just stupid question, and then it's half. And that's it.
I want to leave you with one last thought experiment. Imagine that you know for a fact that before our universe began, there was a coin flip. And if it came up heads, only a single universe would be created. But if it came up tails, a quasi-infinite multiverse would be created. And in each of those multiverse universes, you'd find every possible variation of Earth and the people on it. In some versions, there would be no Earth. Now, you becoming conscious is just like Sleeping Beauty waking up. There's no way to tell if you're in that single universe
You just
or in
added
one of the
another bit of
multiverse universes, but you know
nonsense to
there
it.
are a lot more of them. So would you think that you're for sure in the multiverse, or are the chances 50-50?
The thing about the multiverse is that if there can be an interaction between multiple multiverse, you'll notice it more than just 1 in a million years, 1 in 1,000 years. You'll notice it all over the place. It won't just be simple. It could be just simple, tiny stuff that no one would ever notice. It wouldn't change anything. Which means, who cares? We're living in a singular universe. Or, if we have those tiny little differences, and of course, no one fucking knows, because of the way that the like button has changed, we don't know how many people clicked the dislike button, but 291,000 people are stupid. I'm not going to apologize for that. Your mom's stupid. If she answered this and clicked the like button, basing her like button on the answer of she's a thirder. It's half. Shut up. There is no other answer. It is half. I had a possible quandary of it when I first heard the question, and I'm glad that I came back to this. I have not made a video that is available until now, so the original take is gone for history unless I can make YouTube decide to give back my channel and every good video that I've ever made, because it's over 6,000 videos made and they fucking killed me. The point is, it's fucking half. So I don't care about his good presentation versus my bad presentation. I don't care how I worded it versus how he worded it. He stated it as a question. I'm saying the answer. Because the question was only about the coin flip. If you want to look into the ideas of Monday and whatever else, go ahead. The idea of winning or losing the game is still half. Depending on how you look at it. The chances of it winning is different than the outcome is win or lose. Because of... But here's the thing, right? It's also a stupid question because you're wrong again.
Dominating team like Canada. So the odds are 80-20 in Brazil's favor.
Meaning, could the underdogs win the game? It's not a percentage. If you play this like D&D, Brazil always fucking wins. Because Canada can't get past Brazil's AC. Put it that way. Right? If you think about Brazil being a much more capable team, how could Canada... It doesn't matter if Canada has whatever skill. It matters. That doesn't change. That doesn't make probabilities. It determines their fitness quotient. And the fitness quotient predicts the outcome, meaning it's half. There aren't 5 scenarios in which they could win. They could never win against Brazil because Brazil's better. Shut up!
That it probably has happened and we are living in a simulation. This seems like the logical conclusion of the thirder worldview. Now, I personally don't buy that I'm living in a simulation, and I think most people don't buy it, but maybe that's just illogical bias. But there's another thought experiment that makes me seriously reconsider the thirder position. Let's say there's a soccer game between a really great team like Brazil and a less world-dominating team like Canada. So the odds are...
Let's say that a team that is capable of outdoing them by 80% of their strength go get up against people who can't do shit all in comparison. It's not like if you went Canada and their skill rank is even, then it would be 50-50 for some reason. The 80% of their skill versus the 20% of their skill, the 80% wins every damn time. It's ridiculous to say that Canada could ever win that. The probability, listen, if you want to look at the probability of the underdog winning against a very powerful team, there are a lot of other ways of doing that, and it's not a 20-80%. If their skill level is that and whatever, the actual probability of that happening is more like 1 in 1,000. Because what if that team does something that the other team didn't expect, or whatever else, or their team was so powerful that they like used up all their energy in the first half of the game, or whatever the game. Shut up. I don't care how games are divided. I don't care. The first half of the time of the game, and then the other half of the game, the other team has the upper hand because they were taking it easy for the longest time. Now they get to take it easy, and you don't have enough energy to beat them at them taking it easy. That's not what we're asking here. People who have the ability to dominate versus people who don't have the ability to beat them, you're always losing. It's a no-brainer. Right? If there's a chance for them to win, it's because you're not facing the probability correctly. So it's stupid that you even asked this question. Because it's not 1/5. It's some other insane odds. Someone 5 times as powerful as them? It's not 20%.
80-20 in Brazil's favor. Now, a researcher is going to put you to sleep before the game starts. And if Brazil wins, they'll wake you up 1 time. But if Canada wins, they'll wake you up 30 times in a row. And just like Sleeping Beauty, you won't remember if you've been woken before. Okay, so the game is about to start. You fall asleep, and now you're woken up. Who do you think won the game? The thirder would say Canada.
A genuinely person who is looking at the basic math of it says it was not even 50-50. It was a 1 in 1,000 or more chance. They did not win. It's always Brazil. I don't even care if I would never wake up with Canada winning. That doesn't happen. It never happens. Most likely. or the probability of it happening is an extreme number that we don't even want to calculate it. So I would bring it to you and say in the comments, tell me about what you think about the Brazil situation, because their strength or their ability to be great at the game versus Canada that was presented. I don't know how good Brazil versus Canada actually would turn out. We're presenting a scenario of hypothetical. Okay? If Canada is 1/5 the power or potential of Brazil, they're never going to win. Who freaking cares? But tell me what you actually think about it. And it seriously doesn't matter how learned, how well written your presentation is. If you've got nothing but questions and no actual answers, you're not saying anything important to actually give an answer to. I'm the one giving an answer. Because it's half. What the fuck is happening? This tablet is too sensitive. I can't hold it without touching the sides because it's stupid. It's extra thin, so it doesn't have any like leeway for that. And the ability to hold it is based on my hand grip strength and whatever else, and it doesn't have... It's slippery and... fuck you.
Canada, but I would almost certainly say Brazil. I mean, why should I give any weight to what the researcher would have done if Canada had won when I'm fairly confident that they won't? To extend this, let's say Brazil plays Canada 5 times and we do this experiment each time. Well, then if you say Brazil each time you're woken up, you'll probably be right about 4 out of 5 of the games.
Okay, if that kind of scenario situation is possible, you're misrepresenting how skilled Canada could be in order for this to be even possible. If it's possible that they'll win 1 out of 5 times or whatever, fuck you, you stupid.
I don't buy that I'm living in a simulation, and I think most people...
Stupid.
But if you want to answer more questionings correctly, well then you should say 1/3. I want to leave you with one last...
If you want to answer more questions correctly, you equal 1/3. No, it's still half. It always was half. There's only 2 scenarios from the original question of Monday, Tuesday, or, you know, it's half leads one way, half leads the other way. It doesn't make any difference.
Thought experiment. Imagine that you know for a fact that before
It's
our
a
universe
Schrodinger's
began,
cat
there was a coin
expanded.
flip. And if it came up heads, only a single universe would be created. But if it came up...
Okay, so the thing about it coming up tails and the universe. The way that multiverses truly work is that there's the ability of physical space in an area that apparently also occupy... Like, there's 2 ideas for multiverses. There's the multiverse where we have this universe and a copy of this same universe tangentially just somewhere else. Let's say this one's in square A, this one a totally other universe in a totally other section of space, square B. Multi-universe in that grid pattern. They don't intersect. They are just both in the same timeline and everything else. And they seem to be exact copies with the exceptions of slight differences. So you could have quadrillions of universes, all separate, individual, all copies of each other, with the exception of when we start with the planet Earth. By the way, the planet Earth was not a first stage planet. Everything that made up this solar system exploded from stars a couple of times before we got to the planet Earth, in order to make the crazy stuff that we experience, like uranium and whatever else. You have to make heavier and heavier stuff collide in fusion events that then are the first sequence of stars were massive. They blew out and died, turned into the rubble that is now the solar system, which collapsed into stars, planets, and meteorites, that then has all of the stuff that we could be a second sequence, we could be a third sequence, right? Depending on how long our planet, our star, our other star could have been, it doesn't make any much difference. But we are not the first sequence star. The star of our solar system wasn't born, like, for example, as a result of the Big Bang. And all of the stuff wasn't made as a result of the Big Bang. All of this stuff happened because of other processes that were able to fuse it together to make these things and elements, such as fluoride and whatever else that we have in the universe. Freaking potassium and anything else. All of the stuff that is like heavier and still bigger and stuff, we have to have hypernova to make those things be able to fuse. And so we have to be at least 2 or 3 stars into this in order to get to where we are now, based on the whole assumption of everything. But anyway, skipping everything that led to this planet, from this planet, assume that there are quadrillions of other universes that all could possibly have this solar system and this planet, means that could also be tons of other universes that have completely different solar systems in other galaxies, in other with other planets that have nothing to do with Earth and all of that stuff. So a society could exist elsewhere in any given planet, anywhere in the universe. It doesn't have to be this one here in this solar system and whatever else. But we only are aware of, or think of, or conceptualize the idea of this universe and the alternatives of this single system. So that's the first idea with multiverse is one checkerboard pattern idea where they're all separate universes, they all exist in different bubbles of the same cosmos. But then multiverse, as seen in, for example, the Marvel universe, where you're able to go from one choice to a different choice, is branching timelines and all of that stuff based off of the original planet and stuff. And everything from this moment on has changed because of reasons we won't get into. So we have that. The thing you have to remember, if there were parallel universes with interactions that could influence things, there are certain experiments we can do. For example, just looking out into the cosmos, we would be able to see all sorts of phenomenon, such as objects appearing out of nowhere or whatever else, and we would be able to know stuff about the universe depending on the level of interaction between universes. Now, a universe is a massive thing. The number of chances that there are going to be interactions between any two parallel universes, it collapses to a 1 in 10 chance. When you think of every possible square, nano, femto, whatever meter you want to think of. Every possible area of space could have an interaction. Every possible area of space could have some possible way of interacting with the parallel universe. So that means, in order to truly understand the scenario presented, you have to think of numbers that are, well, just to reach a single other universe, it is, say, one particle in every other. Let's say we give a bounding box of 1 in 10 to the 50. Well, we surpass that when we think about the number of Planck length measurements throughout the visible universe. So the options of universes
entails a quasi-infinite multiverse.
All these different spots could have fluctuations that interact or have interacted with other universes. What kind of weird phenomenon should we be expecting if we have multiverse theory be true? Well, stars would not be as predictable as they would be. We should see stars exploding for no goddamn reason that we can even fathom. Because interactions from another universe, like for example, started pulling things around, started moving things in different ways, and you end up with stars just exploding all over the place. And not just based on the natural progression of stars, but something way more fast, possibly more violent than we have ever assumed has ever happened. Hypernova, who cares? You can have things be just way more destructive randomly. Our sun could explode stupidly randomly with a certain amount of a chance, or it could be a different star of the star that's going to be nearby our star, Alpha Centauri or whatever, and other things nearby. And that would suck. But the chances of any of those things happening in any given second, and then multiplied by the chances of things happening in the entire space of the universe, it should happen often. Noticeably, easily, totally overrides predictions of how we see stars working. Because the thermal systems and everything else, we can predict when it's going to die, or whatever else, and all of that stuff. Those are one of the more simple possible extremes. And things we can notice. The probability of, say, an experiment where all the laws of physics are in play, and you end up with spin up or spin down equaling the box, and the Schrodinger's cat in one universe is alive and the Schrodinger's cat in another universe is dead, means you can make a example by contradiction that allows you to know whether or not Schrodinger's cat plus something else, because if something interacts with our universe, it will then interact with this other experiment, making this other thing that normally, under every other circumstances that we can easily 100% predict, is going to be happening only one way. For example, the steady temperature of water in an area that is 100% controlled. Have we ever noticed it to randomly fluctuate? And of course it can because of cosmic rays. It can because of neutrinos going through it or whatever else. But outside of that, what other things can we notice? Are cosmic rays the thing that's happening in between universes and all that stuff? No. I would venture to say we are not living in a multiverse simply because there aren't enough interactions, because we wouldn't just be connected to one other universe that is parallel to us. We would be connected to literally every universe that involves every possible scenario that could happen differently throughout the entirety of possible choices for every living thing in existence, which is like trillions or 10 to the 20th. Or more. All the different possible universes that could interact with ours, and all the possible ones that could have interactions with us. The Fermi paradox is similar to that in how all the different stuff that could happen versus all the different stuff that could make it not happen. But it's talking about just our universe and the chances of life. Versus we can make a similar paradox or a similar Fermi estimation for how the universe and multiverse could exist. And we can rule out the multiverse pretty damn quick by saying all the different potential scenarios in which there could be interactions, and yet we don't see any such thing happening. Like, the chances of objects decaying is predictable. It's not very random. And we have these whole sets of laws based on how often and basic that is, that we should expect it to happen no matter what. Yeah, so I'm a halfer. Is math discovered or invented? Math discovered or invented? Let me answer that question too, maybe, in a different video. Or in this video. Math was not invented, let's say that. Math, of course, was discovered. It is the constants of how a circle works, how a drop of water forms, how the sun and everything else with refraction makes a blue sky, and how there is like a certain amount of heat in room temperature water. All of that stuff. And if you were to have like 2 apples in one basket and then 1 apple in another basket, and you take that 1 apple, add it to the 2 apples, and you end up with 3 apples, that's math, and it's part of the thing that would happen anyway in the universe, whether we discovered it or invented it. The idea of it being invented is like silly, because even flowers work with math. There are all sorts of calculations that work with, that are these basic variables of either a shape that is correlated with math or whatever else that makes a certain number of petals for certain flowers. And you can notice these flowers be consistent with that certain number of petals. For example, the 4-leaf clover could be 4-leaf, it could be 3-leaf, it could be 2-leaf, we understand that, but the shape of the clover itself is usually like a heart shape. So that's simple, and that's based on a type of math. There's a bit of symmetry, there's a bit of an idea of how the leaf should be formed, and that's how it forms, based off of either the components that made it up, like the chemical bonds that can make the shape possible. Like a maple leaf is always that same simple shape, and all of that. So it's not that math ever could have not existed, so it could never have been invented. It was there was a moment where math was either, I mean, even from the beginning, supposedly, you could say math was always understood. Like, there's no way you could say that there wasn't some form of math in the very beginning of everything. Because, well, I mean, depending on how a person's brain thinks. But, like, even before thinking existed, math existed. So it was always there. And it was observed, and there were all sorts of ideas that came about because of math. But ironically, like, shapes having a similar structure or size or color, or like the fact that the storm on the top of one of the planets is a freaking hexagon, is because of liquid dynamics and that type of stuff. It's how storms are able to form so big that really there is this thing that is capable of being there, and it could only be a hexagon because of the pressures, because of whatever else involved with that planet. I forget which one it is. Right? So there's that. And there's the fact that the toroid is supposedly math, but that's the way that electromagnetism works, because that's the way flowing works. And that's how electromagnetism works. It's a flow. It goes around the object and then it goes back through it. It's a constant engine where it's attracted, but it's also, the electromagnetism is not only attracted, but it's also constantly flowing. Anyway, Probabilities have nothing to do with the 3 different scenarios, 30 different scenarios, 5 different scenarios, millions of scenarios, 1,500 scenarios, whatever. The result is based on the coin flip. It's half.